getting a lot of questions about cover crops once again, whether it's for the guys who just got done harvesting small grains or even in some corn and soybean growing areas where they just got flooded out and want to put something in there in those spots in the fields to have something growing. There are a lot of uses and potential benefits from cover crops.
Well, there are, but the thing that I always caution people about is if you're in a far northern climate and you're going to harvest really late, there probably isn't enough time. You really want to have at least 60 days of growth in order to make cover crops worthwhile in a lot of cases. Okay, the next thing that we talk about is which cover crops are you going to use? We'd encourage you to at least consider a blend. Okay, in a lot of cases, it's just the exact opposite of what we talk about out in fields, because every once in a while we'll have somebody that'll say, well, I'm trying to do this grass mixed together with alfalfa for my livestock, and we go, you're way ahead to raise alfalfa totally separately from grass. We want those separate because we can raise more total tons when they are each produced separately because they're totally different crops. Well, with cover crops, all we're trying to do here really, when you start thinking about it, is build the soil. If we're just trying to build the soil, hold the weeds down, that type of thing, having a blend is just fine. What we usually talk about is let's get a grass out there, a broadleaf out there, and maybe to a broadleaf that is a legume that can actually help produce nitrogen for that soil.
The other question we get is, well, I used a herbicide on my previous crop. Is it going to be safe for my cover crop? And honestly, we don't really care. If you're using a blend, you've got a number of different species out there that you're planting. Most of the pre's are specific either to broadleaf or to grasses. So we don't get many pre-emerge herbicides that are going to kill everything in a cover crop blend. Now, they may damage a little bit one species, but think about it. Does it really matter? Maybe it's your legume. Let's just say your legume in that blend, well, instead of getting 100% stand, you only get an 80% stand. Well, it's going to be just fine for a cover crop. It's not a big deal. Now, if that was your actual crop and you said, well, I only got an 80% stand, well, you're probably disappointed and you may have given up some yield.
One of the things we've seen this year across the country, especially in the northern part of the United States, is a lot of drown-out areas. In those drown-out areas, if you don't get something growing there yet this year, you're most likely going to have fallow syndrome next year. In other words, a lot of those fungi that are beneficial to the crop that actually can help bring nutrients like phosphorus into the crop next year, they're going to die. So you've got to get something for them to feed on the rest of this year. You're going to raise a lot better crop next year if you do that.
Whenever possible, we like to see a growing crop out in the field as long as we can. That's where cover crops come into play. You may have more questions about them. There's certainly lots of resources online and in your local area too that you can check into, but we do encourage you plant a blend. Get it planted as soon as you can so you have the longest amount of time for it to grow in your field.
Another place you can go to find good information on cover crops is agphd.com. While you're at agphd.com, you can learn more about weed control as well, like our Weed of the Week. We'll tell you how to stop it on your farm coming up next.